Hello, hi guys. So today we're gonna be modeling the Eos Lip Balm. They had one of the most unique shapes when this product came out in the market. It was very different than the normal lip balm stick that we saw. So we are gonna actually focus on the curvature and this indent, like a finger thumb print that's on the center. Also, we're going to look at the thread that's built in here and a few of these surface tools for you guys. I want to review how this model was built so you guys get the analogy, and now we'll make one together. So just good practice. I did bring in the picture. Here we go. Show. Okay, here we go. So just to get some measurements and get the sizing right, and especially biggest reason I bring in the pictures, this by no means is a normal shape. It's a very organic, I say hand-drawn shape. So the only way I could get this perfect is to have an image to trace. So then there is a revolve following the edges, and there is a split line. Here we go. Actually, let me change this. So basically, separating that portion, removing that face, and then coming back and filling it up with an indent into it, and we'll go over that. Adding a plainer face to the bottom and knitting everything together to create a solid. At this point, we do have a solid, if you guys look. So it's no longer surfaces. And then doing a little bit of edge treatment, some fillets. And again, as you guys remember, the inside has the actual product. So I'm removing the internal portion. This picture is not helpful. So there's a cut in the middle, a revolve cut. And this shape is split into two with extrude thin. So now we have a top and the bottom. Bringing up the lip, adding a thread, and basically subtracting that thread from the top portion with an offset. Oh, here we go. So if I show you guys, this is actually a pretty neat tool. You can see there's an offset using indent. And lastly, just adding a few fillets to all the edges to make everything smooth. If you look at this, you'll see the highlights, looks amazing. And if you go to evaluate, look at that, beautiful. And then this edge, as you can see, is pretty sharp, similar to the image. We have a really sharp, there's a fillet there, but it's a very small fillet. All right, let's get started and make our own lip balm. New file. I will provide the image for you guys. So first thing would be to go to the front plane, do a sketch. Today I'm actually gonna go work in inches. We're not making a consumer electronic. So I'm gonna bring in tools, the sketch tools, the sketch picture all the way in the bottom. And let me find the image I want to bring in. There we go. So I usually center this image to the best of our visual. I'm gonna add a center line just to get a sense of size. So actually I want this to be 1.5 inch tall. As we can look at this, this is not a circle, not an ellipse. It's a very interesting form. Yet it's very doughy. There's no hard edges to it. There is no fillet that ends into a flat surface. 1.5 in here. Okay, this image is huge. If I double click on the image, it gives me these side handles and I can resize this. Let's see, getting closer. Almost. Actually, this looks pretty good to me. So I always try to match to the side because this is not a perfect side view. We are getting a little bit of a curvature. So if my side matches that ground level, that's good. All right, now that we have this will be our sketch one. We're gonna leave it alone and we're gonna make a new sketch on that front plane. So let's do a new sketch. And this would be trying to follow the edge here with the spline and basically create the outer surface to revolve. So for the revolve, we always need a center line. I'm gonna put down, here we go. And I'm gonna use my spline tool. This is half of the shape. So the bottom is cut off. So I'm actually gonna stop at the end point here. I'm going to try to match these. Okay, so we talked about this before. Because we are revolving and we don't want a pointy top, we need to make sure these two either are tangent or C equal. In this situation, I rather have C equal rather than tangent because it drops off a lot slower. And I can manipulate this. Do the same thing. This is actually a really good situation. So you almost don't want two equal curvature. You want one to be tangent if you have a spline with 2 points, and one to be C equal or equal curvature. Reason being, it pushes each other and it creates a pinch. So this is refined better. You can see how perfectly it matches. So I think here we go. Seems pretty good to me. I need to measure and make sure everything is defined. Do 1.5. And this, I don't know how much is cut from the bottom. So I'm just gonna let this be 0.65. Here we go. Maybe too much. 0.66. Okay, and measurement for this piece. 2.25. Okay, it looks like maybe 1.5 is too big. 1.49. There we go. That looks better already. And should I bring this lower? I still haven't measured this side. .67. And lastly, this piece. Here we go. So fully defined. And I'm also going to mirror this downward. Oh, I need a center line. I could create the whole revolve and then mirror it, or I could just mirror the sketch. It's your own choice, however you want to do it. Let's see. Mirror. Here it is. Wow, this is not the same. Okay. So now that I know this is not the same, let me double check. If I move this higher, 7.5, which is half of the, okay, this looks better. So actually that means the cut point is way below the half mark. So the half mark kind of threw this off, but now, let's see. No, I don't like this. All right, I'm not gonna do a half. I'm just going to use one spline. Let me remove this and this. We don't need those. Okay, this is comfortable. I actually come bring it down here. I don't need that one anymore either. So let's see if I can use a 2-point. This one too. Yeah, I can use a 2-point spline to still create this. So this bottom looks chopped off. So we have a sharp edge here. So in that sense, it's okay. I will set these two to be horizontal. I don't necessarily need to close the sketch. It is a surface, so even with the line, it should be fine. And I can use a planar surface on the bottom to close it off later on. All right, this looks okay to me. Let's add some measurement to this. 2.14 and let's do this 0.3 and we have define the sketch. All right, now we're gonna go to surface, use revolve surface, and here's our center line. So the surface, the bottom is open, is okay. At this point, I'm not too worried about the bottom right now. All right. Next, I want to see that indent, which is the most important part of this whole design, is that indent. I will do a section view. So this is clear. If on your section view you can't see these, here is how you would kind of maneuver between planes until it's pretty clear. Say okay. So one more sketch on the front plane. And we're kind of gonna follow this form. So using the spline tool, I'm gonna try to put my points on this vertical and if possible on a horizontal, unless I can make this form. It is a very organic shape. So when I start out here, don't know if we can do this with 3 or, okay, I do this, this, here, and here. Oh, I didn't have touch. There we go. And I'm going to set these two to be horizontal. So they're on one line. This is on one line. We'll talk about later why I did this. But this makes creating guide curves later on much easier. So now I need to manipulate my curve so we can get this form. Ooh. And you have to be patient. with splines. There we go. Does that look good? I think this one can be more curved and maybe a bit more out. Okay. Here we can use more curve. The color change is so light that I have a hard time seeing all of it. Okay, so this one's pretty much locked because it was my first point. So with this one, I control both sides. Okay. Okay, it's getting there. Here's dropping low a bit. One thing I like, having these handles being similar size. When you have one stretch out too much versus the other one, it does sometimes create a kink into the form. All right. See if I can push this up a bit more. Good. There's a pinch happening here. Let's move that out. Here we go. So everything's sitting well. It is really hard to see that highlight. All right. Now that we have this, and do some basic measurements, obviously. So not forget. Here we go. This is a 0.28 from here to here. Almost a 0.9. 0.28. And here to here, 0.32. Try to round off your numbers. It will drive engineers crazy if you just leave them like that. 0.29. All right, good. We can do all of these arrows as well. At first, I want to see my form and see how that looks. When I go to insert, actually, let me come out of this so I can see the surface. So my goal is to split this face. I'm going to go to insert, curve, split line. Under projection, when have says going to sketch because I never came out of the sketch. And then the face. This is already on a single direction. Actually, it's not. I should put it on a single direction or else it'll go both sides. I also want to reverse the direction. I want it to split on this side. So let's take a look. Nice. We have our form. And let's see. Okay, it looks good. It looks similar. Just wanted to see the form. Now that we have that, this part's easy. We're basically going to remove this part. So we'll go to surfaces and find delete face like this. So if we do delete and patch, it'll actually put this surface back in. If we do delete and fill, it will make it flat and it will connect it. Delete basically just removes. There we go. Now we kind of have a hole in there. We have a hole in the bottom. So let's start fixing the hole in the bottom, which is simple surface. I use planar surface. This means it's a flat surface. And we pick this bottom. You see how it is creating that face there? Okay, so the bottom is closed off. Now we need to do a guide here. So if I were just to use a filled surface, you will see how this looks. See, it doesn't have the indents or the smoothness on the edge that we're looking for. However, since we actually made all of our points on these lines, we can come in and draw a spline over here. Let's mark it up. So I'm looking to use the plane to draw a nice spline over here and kind of control this surface. And when we do a fill, it's a lot more controlled, and we can come back and always edit that guide curve. All right. Discard. Now we need to go to the plane. Let me hide the sketch to keep everything clean and it's easy to see. So going to the right plane, doing sketch, spline. So this, because it might be harder to match, you can actually just click outside 2 points, click here, come here, hold shift, and coincident. I'm going to rotate this because I can't see where that point is at all. So even if I don't find this point, oh, here we go. I can still do that edge. I will pierce it into that point because this plane is hitting him only at 1 point. So it almost has no choice but to stay in the right place. Now I'm looking at the side and I'm going to use my planes, kind of make a slight indent in here. So one way to do it would be to actually have it curvature continuous to this and then let it go back in. However, if you look at this, there's an actual sharp edge here. There is no continuity. Like here on top, we have a continuity on the curvature, but here we have a very clear edge. The indent is not much, but this surface and this surface are coming together as a contact. So here we go. So in this situation, if you have to measure anything, it might be good to measure angles and your spline arrow. So I can measure from here to here. This is the angle. I put it at 110. And I can measure this tip. And maybe I'll do a point. Was it 0.75 to round it off? Same thing from here to here. Another 110. This is just lightly dipping in. This one is shorter. Just do 0.6. So it actually dips down on the bottom a bit more. All right, now that we have our guide, I'm gonna go to surface fill. The reason we use fill, not boundary, is because we have all the edges. So I'm gonna use surface fill. We're gonna pick this edge. Automatically make something, right? It is definitely not indented as much as I'm looking for. So here we go. I'm going to pick this, and you can see how now nicely it forms into that piece. Let's see. So my mesh is too much. There we go. Nice. And so on the edges here, this is contact. There's tangent and curvature. Again, because we need a sharp edge, we're not changing this. Now press OK. And voila. We have this nice form in here. Let me set this. If you don't see highlights, you need to make sure your shadow and highlights are turned on. And sometimes on the white one, yes, that's much better. you can see these highlights a bit better. All right. Now that we have this, I need to go from surface into solid and start splitting and adding the thread. So if I look in here, these are just surfaces. And if we've done a good job connecting our surfaces together, we should not have a problem knitting everything together. So click here, select everything, and it gives us an option to create a solid, which is perfect. And let's check. Nice. All right, now we have this. Before I split this in half, you can see on the inside there is the lip balm cavity, and then there probably is a hole on the top portion to hold this ball shape lip balm. So I'm just gonna go in and do a revolve cut inside. So I'm gonna go to the front, go on a sketch. I want to see the image because I want the center of that circular sketch to kind of be on that line. And I need to do a section view so I can actually see the image. All right. So I am in a sketch, you can see that, on the front plane, and I'm just going to use a circle down the center line. I was hoping to see this line to know where to put my center line down. And I use 1/2 inch. 1 inch. All right. Okay, so there's a lot of gap here. Let me take another look at this. All right, so if this is a semicircle, here's another semicircle. I believe this is lifted up about this much. So I'm gonna say if that's a 1/2 inch radius, this is gonna be half of that, a 1/4 inch. So I'm gonna actually go up a 1/4 inch. So we go from here to here. Right now we have 0.62. Make it 0.75. Let's see how that looks. All right. Let's see. Maybe 0.7 might look a bit better. 0.7. Here we go. Yeah. So if we create that wall here, now we get to the 1/2 point. So to revolve cut this, I need a center line and I need to close the sketch. Here we go. Also to trim and features. Everything is defined. It's good. Revolve cut. We're back using solids. There we go. Let's come back out of this and double check. Yes, so we remove that inside portion. All right, now splitting this body into half. Before I do so, I would like to do my fillets because then if this becomes 2 bodies, I have to separate the fillets for each body. So let's add a fillet here. It's way too big. I'm going to do 0.02. Let me look at the picture one more time. You can see it's almost like a sharp edge. And this highlight, you can see, feels smaller than the highlights from the side. Somewhat. Very close, actually. Might be pretty much close. So I might do 0.1 for this and then 0.2 later on for that edge. Here we go. Let me turn this off so you guys can see. Yes, nice. And the bottom also has a very small fillet. I'll do a 0.2. 0.02 for that bottom. Now time to cut this. Okay. Again, I came onto a section view using front plane, sketch. Okay. So this is a solid we're cutting. So all I need is a line. I don't even have to stop at the edge. Let's see. Just measure it. Okay, so here's 2-inch. I'm gonna use a thin sheet to cut this. I also need to measure from here to here. It's 2.65. Yeah, that looks good. Again, we're trying to match the edges, not the center. Here we go, extrude cut. Should automatically give us a sheet. If it doesn't, it's a thin feature. Super thick. So we want to go on both sides, mid-plane, here, mid-plane. And thickness right now is 0.1, as you guys can see, and is going downward from my line. I'm going to change the direction, right on one direction to mid-plane, so it goes half and half. And change this one to maybe 0.001. Like literally like a thin sheet. It might be too small. 0.5. So we can actually see that thickness. Okay. And this is cutting. It's cutting one side, it's cutting the other side that I can't see. So whenever we cut our body into multiple, it's gonna ask us if we want to keep all of them. Say yes. Let's come out of this. Now I don't need to sketch anymore. I'm just gonna hide it. Here we go, nice. All right, now that we have this portion, you hide the top and start working with the bottom to create this lip, and then we're gonna add the threads. Okay. All right, I'm gonna come here, do a sketch. I'm gonna use this edge, do a convert entity, and this a bit quick. I'm gonna do feature, extrude, and again, it's gonna be a thin feature. This is super thin. Let's do a 0.05. Okay. And the height of, let's do 125. This is a 1/8. So I'm just gonna eyeball these two. Okay, this looks a lot taller. I do another one, maybe 0.2. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now we have this edge built in. And I can come and fillet this part later. I need this thread. So let's talk about threads. You can always do a sweep. Normally, as product designers, we don't do all the threads and screws and bolts, but it's good to know where they are and how to use them. These look like a custom thread, but all of the screw threads, there's a standard millimeter and inch thread dimensions and the spacing between two threads. And you can find your thread by searching. There you go, thread here. And let's see, thread tool, type and size profiles are thread only. Okay, I don't know what that was for. All right, here is our thread tool. So first it's gonna ask us to pick our circular edge that we want to put the thread on. We'll actually pick this bottom one. And then, this is because I've built this before. And then it's gonna say how tall or up to what surface should it go. I'm gonna pick this surface. Okay, now it's going opposite way, so I need to go the other direction. So I'm gonna drop it this direction. And you can see how it actually finishes there, which is nice. This is going to be removed from the top, from the outside. So if you're not getting the same thing, it's probably because you're on a different thread dimension. So I'm at 20.25 and 20. So here, these are all standard threads. You can see how much that is. It's super small. And then as we go down, they start getting slightly larger. There we go. Again, slightly larger. And I was using 0.25, 20. Let's see. Did I lose it? It's okay. Okay, it's this one actually. So this is pretty large. And if I look at my picture, there's only like 2 rounds anyway happening. So there's 2 rounds. So you have an option to cut or extend thread. So basically add. So I would rather have a cut right now. And I will show you guys that I'll be using an indent to match this to the other side. Should we add a bit more to the height? Let's see. I really like this. It's only like 2 rounds. I keep this. The thread reinforcements. Thread insert. Unable to cut the thread on cylindrical surface. Use extrude thread instead. Okay, let's see. Then try the extrude thread. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it's basically telling us it couldn't cut, we had to add. Okay, so now that looks weird. Let's go back and see if we can change that reverse or offset that I did. Here we go. This face. Now, okay, I need to go up higher. Too much. Maybe just a 2. Let's see. Up to selection. There we go. That's what I want. And I wish I could offset. This is really long. Let's see if I can offset. Hey, you can. Perfect. And what happens? It goes the other way. This way. Opposite way. All right. I'm not gonna bother with it. I'm just gonna keep the whole thing. See? No, I'm still doing this portion. That's what I don't like about it. Let's see. So right now up to selection, I'll do blind and I will just go up 0.5. All right. Yep, this looks good. But I like this face. I mean, there's no other face for me to pick, so I have to pick this bottom one and starting from there. But oh, here we go. I can offset it. Perfect. Offset. Let's do 3. So it comes lower. I'm looking at that edge. I don't want it to show up. 2.5. So that pays to be patient with Solidworks. Especially on the tools that are rarely used. But this is not the thread tool again is used mostly with engineers. But now we know they exist and it's there. Perfect. We have our thread count here. And And now we need to do the opposite to the other side. And there's a quick trick we can use rather than going through all of that hassle. I'm going to show you guys a new tool. This is insert feature indent. Where is it? Indent. Here we go. So we can obviously use subtracting body from this body and that body, and it will create the thread. The reason I'm using indent is because it gives us tolerance. It gives us gap between the two pieces, which is really helpful, especially with injection molding. So target body, this is the body we want to cut, and then tool body region. So this is basically the faces that you want to cut. So for me to be able to see that thread, I have to hide the top portion, which is this top one. So I'm gonna hide that body, and I'm gonna pick this surface. Oh, it's thinking. Maybe I should have saved my file. Oh, surface. Okay, now we're gonna say cut. Okay, it's doing everything, and it's even doing that edge. You guys see that gap? This is the tolerance I'm talking about. So if I change this, maybe 0.01, you can see this yellow line is gonna change. You see that? It went down quite a bit. So this is the gap for the screw that we need, or actually any two parts that are coming together. 0.01, say okay. Now if I turn on my other body and do a section cut, voila, you can see this I do not like. I have to come and fix that part. You can see that this thread is actually cut into the top portion. So let's fix this top portion. I'm gonna hide this, and oh, here we go. And pick that flat portion, do a sketch. I'll do convert entity, actually. It has that circle. And I'm just gonna do a revolve, extrude cut. Going this way. So it's just gonna get rid of that lip that was there. It should not affect anything else. All right, one more time. I'm gonna put this back and look here. Now, we don't have that weirdness happening there anymore. All right, now that we have this, we're gonna run a little bit of fillets on the inside. This is so small. Maybe 3, maybe 1 on the inside. Okay. And run a fillet on these edges. And this, ooh, that's too big. 0.02. Still too big. 0.01. That's nice. Maybe on this one as well. No, that's too big for that. 0.5. Let's try. All right, now it's working. Perfect. All right. We have all the bottom body filleted. Now let's look at the top body. Like this. Oh, that's super thin. Okay. So fillet. that first. So I don't know if I can do a fillet. But if I can't, oh, I can. I still don't like how close these are together. Let me also, before I change anything, I'm gonna add this and that also. All right, this is super thin and it's gonna be very weak, especially if people are using that portion to touch and basically use the product. So I'm gonna come in here and take that guide curve and push it back up a bit more so we have a little bit more plastic here. All right, let's go find our fill surface. Here we go. And this is the arc. So this is on the top side. Maybe rather than 0.75, I do 0.65. It's not helping much. Maybe play with the degree. 100. Okay, too much. Let's do 105. And maybe I can make that shorter. 0.5. Okay. I think this may have helped. Look, we are automatically got a thicker portion. Wonderful. If you actually want to see your surfaces, make sure you come out of the line one and go to this and add some material, like a glossy color. Let's see, we'll use a green, not for the surface, for the body. Here we go. Nice. One more thing, just so you guys know, this is appearance. We also have materials here. This materials affects the density and weight, but I think also affects the highlights and shadow. So the normal default is a steel for the materials that you're creating or parts that you create. You see, the steel is chosen. You can also change this to plastic if you want. Here we go. Plastic, let's see, ABS. ABS is not usually shiny. Maybe nylon. Say apply. Don't know if I can tell the difference between coloring. I think it takes a little bit of the gray out of it. And it definitely changes the weight and the mass. All right, we are done with our Eos lip balm. Thanks for following along.